I'm the oldest. So I became the tomboy, the son he wanted to have. And a lot of times, I mean, I would put my hair up in the hat because he had his own business, and I would run, do all kinds of stuff out there with him and wearing coveralls and being flat chested. A lot of people really thought I was his son. So it's interesting. So I really do think that what you said is true, that if we wouldn't have been prepared by our fathers, we might not have survived.
And you're right, Joanne. I think they were more insightful than we gave them credit for. I think they knew they had to make us that person if we were going to compete and be able to work and move forward and make a difference. Yes. And after I finished writing The Accidental Deputy, I lost some of my animosity and anger for my father, because it became clear to me that without the way he raised me, I would have never said yes to becoming deputy sheriff. So it was fascinating.
And I love it the way that you trained so many people too, both men and women, to help them also understand the importance of our unity to work together.
Yes, yes. I love some of the funny stories that.
Could you share one of them with us?
Sure. Let me. I never know where to start. There's so many. One of the funniest ones was when I went to get uniforms. I walked into the uniform store, and they said, "Oh, are you here to pick up your husband's uniforms?" And then I said, "No, it's going to be my uniform." And they said, "Oh," and they walked away, and the manager stayed with me. And I realized they were going to have to make some and adjust them. And so the guys came back again when they realized that it needed a tape measure and they were going to measure me. And I said, "Oh, no, you're not measuring me. I will go in the room and measure myself, and I will give you the measurements." So right off the bat, you learn how to take charge of those situations. And that one was always humorous.
Yes.
And then probably the funniest one was when I got the uniforms, the sheriff had me come to meet the county commissioners at a big meeting and everything. And the sheriff was a retired professional wrestler. So he was an amazing man. He taught me all my self-defense, all of that. And so I walked in, I met the county commissioners who were standing in a group, and they say to him, "Who's going to train her to hand-to-hand combat and to take care of herself?" And the sheriff reached out, took my hand, flipped himself up in the air and landed flat on the floor and made it look like I threw him there because of his wrestling training. So in the book, I tell some just amazing, funny stories.
I love it.
The commissioner said, "Oh, I guess she doesn't need the training,"
That's hilarious. That is hilarious.
I could just picture it. Yes.
I guess he really, he was really thinking he was helping you there. Yeah.
Right.
And he was.
Yeah.
Later, I became pregnant. Well, what do you do with a pregnant deputy sheriff? That had never happened before. And so the newspapers actually listed that I was pregnant. It was a newsworthy article. And a prosecuting attorney in the prosecutor's office, that I worked in the courthouse. So it was lots of offices of county government. And he coined a phrase, and if you go back to the 60s and 70s, you'll get it. He called me Mother Fuzz. Well, I could either get upset about being called Mother Fuzz or laugh about it. So luckily, I learned how to laugh about it and move on. And it kind of died down a little more because I didn't get upset, So there's lots of entertainment in the book about that. I actually stood on a pillar at the Ohio State University Stadium and did guard duty during an OSU game in the 60s. So You know, I was fortunate to have the sheriff. He was a remarkable man.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, he was there for you, and it's really wonderful that he was, because if you wouldn't have had him, I don't know if you could have survived. What was it, like 15 years or something, wasn't it?
Well, I 7 years there, and then I was Westerville's first policewoman. That's a suburb of Columbus. And I was there for 4 years. So yeah, it was 11 years total. So yeah, it was, and I taught in a training academy. I helped hire new deputies. I worked on training for riot control. So the book tells a lot of those funny but serious stories
Right.
about the 60s and 70s. And then you know what the 70s were like. So it's interesting that my first book in the library is fine. My second book, which is Being a Westerville Policewoman, that one I have to have adult in, because it was the 70s. And if you were around,
Yes.
it was a different sexual time and family time. So some of my stories are difficult. And my chief of police was a sexual harasser.
Oh.
So yeah, that book in like the Largo Library and the St. Pete Library, they have listed my second book as adult. So, but
Now,
I
is that
got
the Police, Love, and Understanding? Is that,
Right,
is that
correct.
we have it up on the screen there. So
Yeah.
you can find all of our books on Amazon, of course, and Walmart, and any place you buy, books that have a lot of selection. If they don't have it, request it, because it's definitely worth reading. So the first book we have right up there, The Accidental Deputy, and then the second book, which is The Police, Love, and Understanding. So those are what they look like. So make sure that you purchase those books and have a good read. Well, I admire you, because I'm totally the opposite. I'm a girly girl, which probably was a total disappointment to my father. But yeah, so, and then later on, he went on to have my brother, and I have an older brother and a sister than me, and then my other two sisters, and then finally my brother. But yeah, and so I was really a disappointment because I don't do anything like that. But I have to admit that I'm spunky, and so I would be the one, and I will tell you my funny story. I would be the one they'd be sitting around dinner and saying, "Well, where is she? Well, where is she?" And then my brothers would say, "Oh, she must be up in the tree again." I'd climb up the tree, but then I was afraid. I was scared of heights. I was afraid to jump down. So they'd have to come and get me out every time to get out of that tree. But I played with all the boys, and I tried to do what they did, but I am very much a girly girl. So, but yeah, but then my sister came along, and she was a tomboy. My mom's a bit of a tomboy. And so she was a tomboy. So he then fell in love with her. They could do all kinds of stuff together, work on cars and all kinds of stuff. So he was okay with that. But I get what you're saying. And what I think is important, and what I'm catching, is that your I don't know, was he sergeant or the person in charge of the sheriff, the head sheriff there? I think he realized the importance of having a woman, because there's a relatability that women bring, and also if you want to be in moving, in today's world, you've got to embrace women in the workforce.
There is a really serious story in the book. Part of my duties would be rape cases if they happened at night or whenever. And I got all involved in one that's an amazing story in the book. But it helps so much to have a woman come out with the woman who had just been raped and go to the hospital with her, stick through it with her, testify in court with her. Because there was a tendency back then to think the woman caused it and brought it on. So by having a woman police officer there through it, that's one of the things he was insightful on, and he realized the importance of that. You're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's so true. Yes,
definitely.
it really is.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking after the break, we could talk about when you and your daughter, she was only 6, I think, at the time when you moved to Tampa, Florida from Ohio. So, Cece, I was just thinking that would be a good way
Yeah.
to start the next episode.
Well, what a delight to have you here, Nancy. And we're just enjoying so much you being here. We're calling this show here the Woman Deputy Sheriff in 1965 at age 21. So think about being 21, working in an environment where you're the only woman there, and trying to be one of the boys, as you're moving forward and learning the position, and also trying to be the best deputy that you can be. So we admire you so much. And we want to, again, share your books. Your very first book is The Accidental Deputy. And that's what it looks like right there in the corner. If you are looking at the video, if you're just listening to us in a podcast, again, it's The Accidental Deputy. And then Police, Love, Understanding. So remember that, Police, Love, and Understanding. That is the second book. And it's by Nancy Giles. It's Giles. And I want to share with you before we go on break, I want to share with you how to get a hold of her, because I think it's always a lot of fun when we get emails from people, right? And so if you are finding this entertaining or you have any questions, you can email her at author@accidentaldeputy.com. And then, of course, the website is accidentaldeputy.com. So just check that out. And if you'd like to shoot her an email saying that you saw her here on this show, she would love to get your email and answer any questions that you might have. But do go to, Barnes and Noble or, Amazon.com, any place that you can get books, and you can find her book there. So we're going to take a quick break. We are going to just be back in just a moment. So just grab a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. I am up north in Maryland, so you guys are noticing my settings a little bit different. So that's why we're going for the hot drinks, because it's a bit chilly here. But we are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. You can find all of our information right on goingboldmedia.com, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm John Thomas. I want to share with you a professional products and services directory we call Going Solo Directory. And you need to check this out. If you want exposure to your business or are seeking professional product or services, this directory has it all. And that membership, for the many special features, you get the benefit of a worldwide exposure with a 40-minute video interview on an international business showcase. All this for just one low annual fee. For more information, contact goingsolodirectory.com.
Well, welcome back. You guys are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I'd like to share with you, we're doing something a little bit different. We have started our umbrella company, as so we want to say, is News Streaming. It's called News Streaming Network, and it's the news stands for a Nonstop Entertainment Worldwide Network, which is the home of goingboldmedia.com and goingsolomedia.com. So you're going to see Going Bold, Going Solo intertwined with new streaming network. So we want to make sure that there's no confusion on that. We're still all one and the same. And WGSN-DB Going Solo Network is our kind of our flagship. It's our radio station, and we've been up for years in radio, playing basically talk. These shows like this talk for quite some time, long before, and I know that I'm a little pioneer in that too, but long before a lot of people were doing it on the podcast arena. So we're so proud to be able to bring excellent information and wonderful guests such as Nancy with us here today. So let's talk a little bit more about what our subject is. We're talking to wonderful author Nancy Giles, and she is the woman deputy sheriff in 1965 at age 21, written a couple wonderful books. Maybe we can get her to write another one, because it would be a lot of fun to have another book by her. But let me put them up for you. Her first book is The Accidental Deputy, and the second book is The Police, Love, and Understanding. So welcome back, Nancy, to the show.
Thank you.
And Nancy Giles, Nancy Jean Giles. I never called you Nancy Jean Giles, but I love that you explained how you got that name. And I know that when you moved to Tampa with your daughter, she was 6. What did prompt you to, I know you started at Eckerd College and everything, but I didn't know what triggered that.
Well, first of all, I guess I do need to tell you I am working on the next book.
Oh, good.
Oh, the secret's out.
The title appears to be, unless it changes when I finish, Drug Dynasty Deputy. I came to Florida. I moved to Florida because of the sexual harassment. It was at a time when there was no harassment laws and nothing I could do. And I had a federal grant I was administering in Westerville for 4 years. And I was busy with the grant. Even though I reported to the chief of police, my duties were all in the grant. So the grant was ending, and he rubbed his hands together and said, "Oh, good, now I'm in charge of you." And it was a difficult situation. And there was no one to go to fix it. He was the graduate of the FBI Academy, Ohio Chiefs of Police president. So the only answer at that point was to relocate. And I had an aunt and uncle who lived in Largo in Florida. So I had been divorced by that point because it was the 70s. I was massively seeking a Brady Bunch kind of marriage, but that never happened and it didn't work out. There are several stories of attempts in the book. But so I packed up my daughter, and she was actually 5, just turning 5. And I knew if I waited, she would be in school and elementary. It would be a hard move for her. So that kind of drove the timing on it. And I came down and I interviewed with several law enforcement departments. And it was like starting all over again when I had already worked for 11 years in law enforcement. And some of the law enforcement in Florida was not at the ethical standards of the Midwest in the Ohio area. And I just felt uncomfortable with some of it. So to make a long story short, I ended up working in security work for Eckerd Drugs back when Jack Eckerd was still involved in it. And those stories drive me because Jack Eckerd was the same as the sheriff that made me a deputy. He was the same supportive, giving, caring. I have so many wonderful stories of him that's driving me to write the book about that. And then Joanne's right. I through that, I got a scholarship to Eckerd College to finish. I had 2 years at OSU. And so I finished, and then I got the desire to start my own woman-owned private investigative agency. And it was called Account-Abilities, Inc. And I started that in Florida, got a license to be the person starting it. The St. Pete Times did a couple articles on it because it was unusual. And so the next book is basically about Eckerd Drugs and then the time that I started and the experiences. I work for major people like cash and carry grocery stores, Burger King Corporation, Universal Studios. So I did work for those clients. So have some really entertaining stories from some of that as well.
That is so cool. I love the way that you're so diverse and try things that really hardly anybody, if anybody, ever did it before. So my hat goes off to you, Nancy.
Thank you, Joanne. I think that's probably where I'll stop, because at that point in my life, everything was law enforcement and legal deputy, security work, investigations, that kind of thing. But I really believe that when I finished my career and left about 3 years ago to write the books, I was working at an executive level in a regional nonprofit. So I believed that being a deputy sheriff was not to kill people, it was to help people, to be there for them, to make a difference. So I feel like my life ended up, my work life, in a nonprofit doing just that. I was a chief business officer, looking at business ways to help the nonprofit and work with the clients. So it kind of went back to the beginning of being a deputy sheriff when I finished my career. So it's kind of interesting.
It is. Well, Nancy and I have actually both been on the board of the Social Enterprise Alliance too, which is very key when how she helped these nonprofits. Heaven Drop, the Evergreen Life Services. I even knew you from Park. And with the Social Enterprise Alliance, what we would do is work with nonprofits and help them to understand the value of starting a for-profit company too, to help fund their nonprofit. Because when we did that, there was a change in the way people contributed to nonprofits like they did previously. So I mean, Nancy and I lived through a lot of different wore a lot of different hats to help different people, because of the fact that when you are kind of like the way we grew up, I think you really do see a need and fill it. And my original mentor was Norman Vincent Peale, and he always said that, find a need and fill it. And, I think that all three of us here have witnessed that, it really is important. And then just do it, even if you don't know. I always feel like sometimes you just don't even know what you're doing, but you just have to start, because I always feel like the more I know I don't know, but the more I want to know. And so you just dig deeper. And so, Nancy, I'm so glad that you did that. Even like I was thinking when you were at HSN, how you actually were brave enough to tell what I would call the truth about that product, instead of probably what that product, the leaders of that product wanted to say about their product, because you believed in telling the truth.
It was a piece of my job there to review what was going to go on air, because I was over customer service, escalated issues in the back end of any problems that came out of it going on air. And it really helped to have the investigative background I did to check those out, look at them. At one point, I got a big bonus from them for keeping a product from going online that would have lost a lot of money. So I still used the same skills, and at HSM, probably one of the funniest things I ever did was there was a man cutting through where people were on the phones. And I went up to him and said, sir, you can't cut through here. You're going to have to walk around. And he said, you don't know who I am, do you? And I looked at him and I went, ooh, he looks familiar. And it was Walter Matthau. and so I always laugh. I threw him out of the customer service area.
I love it.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, you know what I'm hearing over and over again, it's the integrity, that you have and that you instilled both being, in the sheriff's department, being a police officer as you've moved through your life, into going into the nonprofits and all of that. So it's your integrity, not being afraid to stand up, and be heard if needs to be. And so I think that's a great quality. I think it's one that all of our police officers, I hope, have, and that as we continue to move forward in our lives, we can continue to be that way. So I really think your books are awesome. I think, a lot of fun reading some of the information there that you've experienced in your life. And I'm kind of looking forward to your next book. I think it'll be great.
Well, there are a lot of funny stories if you keep a sense of humor. And if one thing I've learned in my life is the importance of a sense of humor, because you couldn't do the weird things I've done and not have a sense of humor. It's a very important part of it.
Yeah.
One of the strange things that I feel like, not strange, unique things that she's done recently, she's traveled the world. She was on a 40-day
Yeah.
cruise around the world.
Joanne, 4 months.
Oh, 4 months. I'm sorry. You're right. 4 months. I apologize. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
And it
goodness.
was fabulous because Cunard, I was on the Queen Mary too, and I got to speak and hold book talks 6 times during that 4 months and have people come and chat. And I met the most amazing people from all over the world who brought their stories from the 60s and 70s and brought them out. And I just love doing that. I was just in Phoenix a week and a half or so ago, talking to a huge community there in an auditorium. And the stories that people like to share who were alive back then or aware of the 70s and 60s, it's priceless to hear their stories.
Well, you could write another book using those, or you could do an anthology book with each one writing their stories. I can see it now. If you want assistance with that, Cece and I can help you. We work with quite a few publishers that do that. So
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Wonderful. That would be great. Well, we totally admire you and all that you do, and that you continue on, doing things, and you haven't stopped yet. And so who knows what's on
I
the
don't think she ever will.
No, I don't think so either. I think she's going to say, move over. I'm ready to keep on moving, keep on trucking, right?
Well, thank you so much for asking me to be on and sharing my books. I really appreciate that opportunity to share that and maybe inspire some young person to step out of their path and take a different path. Or have someone, one guy on the cruise said, I read your book, and when I finished it, it took me back to the 60s and 70s, and I literally remembered things I had forgotten. And that was priceless, that I got to realize how I'd lost some of those memories and they came back. So I love that.
Oh, that's terrific. That's terrific. Well, we do want to mention and thank you for supporting us. You're one of our elite guests, and that all of your information can be found right on our goingboldmedia.com. We've got a special page for you there. And then also on our Going Solo directory, all of our information is right there. So if you guys want to connect with her, it's very easy to do. So just don't hesitate. And please, we would love for you to connect with her and share maybe your story. So you can send her an email at author@accidentaldeputy.com, and then check out the website, accidentaldeputy.com. So again, let me put up your books so people can see them. Your very first book was The Accidental Deputy, and that's what it looks like if you can see it right there in the corner. And then also Police Love and Understanding. You can find all the books on like Walmart, Barnes and Noble, Amazon. Go to the website and it'll direct you on where it is. Go to our site, goingboldmedia.com, click the button, buy the book, and you can do that. So we want you to do that. Absolutely. So thank you so much. We do appreciate appreciate you so much. And any last words you'd like to share with our audience?
Just basically, thank you so much. I really enjoy talking about my books and sharing the stories. And Joanne's right. I do have stories I wrote down while I was on the cruise, and I like pictures of sunrises and sunsets. So I do have a kind of book, but doing a color book is very pricey. So that's after I finish the next one on Ecker drugs and my private investigative agency.
But she also does interesting things with those things. I actually bought a puzzle the other day from her. She had this open house. It was so much fun. And it was a lot of the pictures she took, she made into portraits as well as into puzzles. And so my mom loves puzzles. She actually has dementia. So I'm just letting you guys know, if anybody you know that has dementia, they love doing puzzles because it just keeps their mind busy. So I would recommend you buy some of Nancy's puzzles. They're really unique. And she also had different people there. One woman actually is 92 and she's written all these children's books, but they're really for adults too. And even another woman that did all kinds of cards, and Mary Lou did the jewelry and the ornaments and stuff. So she's just always working together with other people to make a true collaborative community like I believe in. I mean, I really feel like we can't do this alone. We all have to help each other. And just on Sunday, she just did that again. So I just mean that she's just amazing. I'm so grateful that I've got to know Nancy all these years and work side by side with her sometime, as well as, just reconnecting over time. And so thank you, Nancy, for all you've done.
Well,
for this
and back at you, exactly the same thing back to you. We've had some wonderful experiences.
So I hope you can read Nancy's book and hear about some of the experiences and get a good laugh, because I do feel like laughter is the best medicine.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, it's been wonderful. It's just wonderful, Nancy, having you with us here today. And I hope that you'll come back again when you write the third book. We'd love to be able to share that with our audience. So again, everyone, please run out, get her books. We want to make sure that we share that with you. Again, her email is author@accidentaldeputy.com. And then the website is accidentaldeputy.com. And then, of course, you can find all of her books at Barnes & Noble, Walmart, wherever they sell books, Amazon. And go to the website and you'll be able to find it, or go to our website and you'll be able to find it. So we hope that hope you guys enjoyed this show as much as we did, because this is a lot of fun, bringing these interesting individuals forward and, letting them shine and helping us being able to really get together. One thing women do best is we collaborate, right? We do that so naturally. And so we're just so pleased to be able to do that each and every week with you guys. So you've listened to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. Check out our goingboldmedia.com. And this is the Goodreads Authors Corner, LinktoEXPERT. So again, don't forget to check out LinktoEXPERT.com. Joanne, it's so great being with you here again this week.
You too. And stay warm, Cece.
I will. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye for now.